All right, it's another episode. The RSL Random Fan Podcast. We're back from all of the holiday festivities and flu-like symptoms for myself. And
I think
spending,
everybody got something.
oh man, I'm about 2 weeks of spending as much time laying down as possible. It's been awful. I'm feeling better now. Don't sound like it or look like it, but I'm feeling better. Let's So I'm your host, Brent Goble, joined by Tyler Thomas and Brennan. Tonight, we're going to catch up with where we're at with RSL at the moment. I think we left off. Things weren't going to change much, and then boom, all of a sudden, things are changing. Right? So, what are some of
Yeah,
the...
I think the departures are some of the crazy ones, right? Couple legends leaving, right? Jasper Lawfelson along with Rubio Rubin. Okay, they're not legends of RSL.
I don't know. Some people were devastated that Jasper is off to a little higher elevation across the Rockies than staying here with good old RSL, but good for him.
We did get some good money from him, right? Well, how would you feel about that, Brennan? Move from here to
I hate the
Denver?
fact that it's a downgrade. Getting sent from Utah to Colorado. I mean, you don't get higher. Well, I mean, you do get higher over there because it's legal. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it's a total downgrade to him. He was a great player. Well, not a great player. He was a useful player for us. But I don't wish anybody to get transferred over to Colorado. That's
I don't even wish that on my worst enemies.
Yeah, seriously. I'm like, oh, you play for Colorado? Oh, I am so sorry.
Well, there's a lot of people talking up Colorado. We'll get to that in, preseason predictions and all of that. But there's a lot of people so far pretty impressed with the moves that Colorado have made. Brought in Zach Steffen, looking at Sam Vines and some other players. They are not sitting pat like they have in past seasons. So
yeah, Sam Vines would be a huge addition for them.
What's that?
Probably. He's definitely an upgrade for Colorado. Yeah. But then we also got rid of Rubio Rubin. We still have him on the books, but we sent him out to Querétaro in Mexico. And for those of you that don't habla español, Mexico is south of the United States, and Guatemala is south of Mexico. You're welcome.
Thank you, Tyler.
That was my geography moment.
Why do you always do geography, man? Like Mexico, yeah, they're neighbors. We get it. You know what I mean? I don't know if you know where Mexico is. It's south of New Mexico.
I'm going to use that one next time. That's a good one, Brennan.
Is South Mexico actually South Mexico? Because he acts more like North Mexico.
Well, Querétaro is just north of Mexico City, and they do have quite a club following there. So they're a big club in Mexico. It's a good move for him. Hopefully he'll find his scoring touch and then come back and do it here. But in the meantime, he's gone.
Just a loan, though, for Rubio Rubin.
Correct. Yeah.
And then, so we wish them good luck because those are two players we really liked. And then we've got Damir Kreilach, who I was really surprised that he actually came back and is continuing to play. Nobody wants to retire, I guess, when your career comes to the end. But I just don't see a guy with a bad back going up and playing on artificial turf and expecting things to go well. Knock on wood. Best of luck to him. But I just don't get it.
I think it's because our last transfer went so well when they signed out from under us a player that we kind of wanted, and Sergio Cordova who was our leading scorer that year, and then we finally agreed to get him back, and then they swooped in and offered him a better contract, and then it didn't work out. Did
thankfully
they
they
loan him
bought him.
out mid-season? They bought him, right?
Thankfully, yeah.
Anyway, I think it's crazy that they took him then. He was unproven, and Demir's like at the end, like he can still do some things, but he's like I think Brennan earlier said he doesn't really do things while moving. He can do things stationary.
Yeah, he's a
I like
stationary
that.
player. He's
Yeah.
not a movable player.
So he can head balls on corners, but that's very one-dimensional for sure. So, but interesting.
Outside the box, he's honestly too expensive for what he's capable of.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
And so
I
we
think
just
the
let him go.
game is
No
just,
concession, nothing.
I think
Well,
the
watch,
speed of the
he's gonna
game is
be
getting past
he's
him.
gonna be like 16 goals this season. He's just gonna
If he
be
gets 16
unstoppable.
goals, I'll buy you a cake.
Perfect. Red velvet, or actually cheesecake.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll get it from the Cheesecake Factory because that's where my daughter
Perfect
works.
pumpkin.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
I do think, though, especially with Dami, hang on. For Dami, I do think that RSL has spent, especially the fans, get too attached to players often. Am I breaking up?
Yeah. Well, it's like the sad part is when somebody watches this, they're gonna think we're the weird ones.
Right.
Like, what do you mean you can't? Like, what are they freaking out about? But it's literally comedy gold of you just being like,
Yes.
well, what I think is,
And then it like pauses and we're like, oh wow. And then anyway. Yeah, go ahead, Brent.
oh,
Ding. Oh, he's there. He's moving. We just don't
I
hear him.
never.
I've been here the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Okay, great. So you were saying with Krylock?
Well, I just think that oftentimes RSL fans in general, get too attached to players, too much sentimentality. And that's the one thing that really doesn't win titles is sentimentality. And it's sad to see players get to the end of their careers, but I think for Dami, him not coming back is great for RSL. Would have been better if he could have stayed within the organization, but it's just not, I think the game is just past him.
Yeah, it feels like that. Which kind of leads us to our next player that left RSL, and that is yours and my favorite player of all time. Okay, not all time, but Severino, our leading scorer last year. Somebody called it at the first of last season. I don't know who it was. It was one of the three of us. That's kind of a big guy. And, he led the team in scoring, but he also led the team in games missed for no reason. Right? I mean, we don't know why he missed games. Like,
That's the best stat ever. Games missed for no reason. Just zero reason. Just his whole family. I mean.
Well, I mean, his wife is beautiful. I don't know if you've seen pictures of her, but apparently she's a little high need, kind of. But again, that's hearsay. That's, here, there, whatever. Sava seems like a pretty straightforward, down to earth, salt of the earth kind of guy. He plays with, just amazing. He does great things for RSL when he's on the field. Maybe you could say he's not great defensively, but putting in the shift he does, he's never not hustling. He's never horribly out of position. He's definitely trying to do the right things when he's on the field. But I think in the locker room he just wasn't really engaged with everybody. What do you think, Brennan?
I think overall, as a player, he does not have leadership quality. Um, I think realistically, anybody that's in a DP position has to have some form of leadership roles. I think like Chicho Arango walking in, just his presence elevates the entire team to be on a much more competitive level. Like last year, him subbing on all of a sudden changed the entire game. Everybody's level increased. It's that demeanor. It's that bravado he brings. And I think that Sava didn't have that. He's a very introverted type of person. I mean, he gets a little bit more showy on the field, but off the field, he's very to himself and not really that type of person we need in the locker room or on realistically on the field. I think we could find somebody with the similar talents that do a lot of the things that stats don't stat. You know.
Yeah, engaged, fully engaged. I think is a big piece, and he's fully engaged during games and stuff. But I mean, he scored 40 goals for us in his 2 stints with us, and I always will appreciate that. I think he did a good job here. I don't think we'll ever look at his contract and be like, yeah, those Severino years, we just didn't get our money's worth out of that guy. I don't think we can say that, but also, he's not really part of the team going forward. And we had hints of that last season too.
It was kind of like a Zlatan Ibrahimovic kind of deal with Manchester United. You know what I mean? Like he brought certain things, but he just didn't gel. He didn't gel well, and you couldn't keep him around. You know?
Yeah. Yep. Good point.
Or even
Good point.
Ronaldo with Manchester United last year.
No, that's different. Incorrect. He is the Savior, Jesus Christ.
Oh boy.
Over at Man U. So I don't care what you have to say.
Didn't he just sign with Los Galacticos?
Ronaldo?
Yeah, I think so. Didn't Vinny dedicate his hat trick to Ronaldo? And wasn't there going to be some big announcement maybe that Madrid? I don't know. That's what I hear.
I doubt Madrid. That. I don't think he's leaving Saudi Arabia. They still owe him.
He's on Al Nassr for.
I don't think he can go back to Spain. Honestly, I think they'll arrest him or something.
No, he's going to retire in Saudi Arabia.
They still owe him $14 dump truck loads of gold.
Probably.
So that we are missing some DPs. We got 2 DPs down. That means that hopefully they'll be bringing in some players. I saw they had the media availability day. They were talking to Pablo Mastroeni and others. And on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, Caleb Turner, I think that's his name, from KSL Sports, had the interviews with Pablo, which was really fascinating. He really talked up this Fidel Barajas, who we just picked up from the Charleston Battery in the USL, a young kid. We had to do some
young player of the year.
Finagling with Toronto to get the allocation order and $50,000 in GAM. I don't know what the deal was with Charleston Battery.
So strange.
Yeah, it's not like the MLS has convoluted player acquisition avenues, but he did really talk him up. He sounds like he's a player that looks to get his shot off, and I would not be surprised to see him starting sooner rather than later. I think with the changes we'll get to with the coaching staff, which Pablo also mentioned, I think David James asked him, how come he made the changes or his thoughts on the changes, and then Pablo was like, well, they weren't my decisions. I didn't make those choices, so I don't know that he was happy with some of his coaches being shown the door. But he did say that they are changing and approaching the game differently in a tactical way next season. Kind of like we pointed out all season, they went down the left side, the right side, and kind of ignored the middle. Sounds like that's going to be inverted, and the focus will be more in the midfield and getting teammates and players closer together and moving forward as a group, that kind of thing. the interview, Pablo explains it a lot better than I can. So I would encourage you to go and, if you're on Twitter, to find those interviews, and Pablo
You
explains it
do a
really well.
great job, Brant. Come on, man. You do
Oh
a
no,
great
I'm just
job
a,
explaining it.
if you put
I
your
know you
foot
need
on the
constant
ball and you kick it.
reinforcement.
So yeah, there's a lot of good information, which kind of surprising. Usually, they're pretty tight-lipped on, this is what we're going to do or what we're not going to do. But he was pretty open with the change in tactics and the focus on finding and using a 10, which is kind of what Luna's role, but also maybe this Fidel kid will play into that. So yeah, it will be really interesting to see how different or how similar RSL looks in
And
how
for
they
those of
attack.
you, oh yeah, and for those of you keeping track at home, basically the reason why Fidel had to be allocated is because he was a former San Jose Academy player, and then signed with the Battery when he didn't get an offer from San Jose, and so he's coming back to the league from having been out of the league, having been in the league before. It's a weird thing. So you have to get your allocation. You got to get to the top of the allocation. And I'm glad it only cost us $50,000. That's fantastic. And it's in GAM, so we don't even really pay it. They just can pay it to somebody else, and we don't pay it to our guys. It's kind of a weird situation with the cap. Anyway, that's way too much on the cap. I apologize.
And also, they mentioned that Kurt Schmid mentioned that he's headed off to England, to Europe, to find.
You mean
They're looking
RSL
for.
sporting director Kurt Schmid?
Yes, looking for a couple of players to bring back, specifically strikers up top. So that's what
Wow.
was mentioned today as well. So the team probably, just like last year, the team's probably going to look a little different by the end of the season as opposed to the start of the season.
Well, it sounds like we've done a good job scouting USL. Like, we got Luna from USL, we got Lambert from USL, and now we got Fidel. No, wait, it's not Castro. Fidel Barajas.
Badass. Yeah, we got Fidel Castro.
Sorry, I had to put the Fidel Castro joke in there. I apologize to anyone traumatized by the Cuban
The Bay of
regime.
Pigs.
That's listening to our podcast.
Well, one thing that's surprising, though, is the fact that we haven't seen anybody from the Blitzer group.
Oh, yeah, that's a
when
good point.
the owners purchased, it was like, oh, sweet, now we're going to have this brand new channel. We're going to be under the umbrella, openly transfer players, all that stuff. And it seems like we just do not dabble in anything. I mean, hopefully we're talking with people from Crystal Palace.
Right?
Some like lower leveled Premier League signings would be incredible as the striker.
Well, maybe that's what Kurt's up to.
I hope so. Because Elise is going to Man U, so we can't take him. So that's unfortunate. But
yeah, I saw a few people saying stuff like, "Yeah, let's go get Milan's guys." Like, guys, we don't take players from Milan. That's not how that works. People don't leave Juve and come to us, right? Like, that's not really our transfer market. So let's try to be realistic about it, right? Olivier Giroud not coming here right now. No. He's still starting every game for Milan. Like, come on.
Oh, I did see, speaking of Italian players, Chiellini is signed to be player development with LAFC. I saw that, so good for them.
who?
Chiellini.
Yeah.
For LAFC.
I don't like
Yeah,
that guy.
he's gonna teach him how to set
Ever
the
since the
soccer
handball.
ball.
I cannot believe that somebody of his stature and history is okay with just jumping up, grabbing a ball with his hands, and it not be a red card. That is something that haunts me to this day, of just the pure hatred I have for him.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Oh, and another player we talked about was on the move is good old Lunchbox.
No
Corey
way.
Baird. Yeah, left Houston, is
Oh,
off
yeah.
to Cincinnati to
That's
replace
right.
Brandon
Cincinnati.
Vasquez.
Yeah.
So,
Brandon. He's heading out, and then Kate Cal went to Chivas after he got
yeah,
his
so
Mexican green card. So even though he's a member of the U.S. men's national team, Chivas have kind of
His
lightened up
mom's
on
Mexican though, okay? So they're still signing only Mexican players.
Isn't that interesting how in soccer we're so interested in everyone's like ethnicity and where their grandparents were from, but we only care because it's what nation they'll end up playing for. But like, like it makes me interested in other countries and stuff too. I mean, I think it's fun, but I also sound a little bit racist sometimes. So where's that guy from? Are you asking because he's brown? No. I just want to know if he
Yes.
speaks Spanish so I can speak to him in Spanish because I speak Spanish. It gets awkward real quick.
so yeah, it'd be
I'm not
interesting
sure.
to see.
Can we talk about Rubio Rabin in this episode?
Yeah. Rubio Rubin, we transferred him to Querétaro. Yeah.
We loaned him,
Loaned him to the
so we might
transfer
bring him back.
of
Star-studded
Querétaro.
man he is.
Well, I wonder if he has the opportunity to go down there and score some goals and put that little round thing on frame and get it in the back of the net. Then all of a sudden, comes back here with some confidence, and uh, he's the player we all hoped he would be.
That'd be nice.
But the team will look different. I know they are. In that interview today, they also said they're going to rely on kind of bring up some of these younger players. He mentioned Elijah Paul. Who knows what, Gozo and Kai. Didn't mention them by name, but I think there's going to be an opportunity for some of these younger players, maybe at least early on, to get an opportunity to show RSL what they have and see what we have. Because that's been a knock,
Yeah.
at least one knock that I've had with Pablo is that he's been hesitant to open the floodgates with the younger players. We talked about it with Luna. And just, what are the machinations you have to go through, the boxes you have to check to meet the universe and Pablo's idea of perfection to allow you to play in a game. I think maybe that might come down a little bit, but we'll see. With I think I don't know if it, like Pablo said, it wasn't his idea to make these changes in coaching. So with the changes in the front office, we still don't have a general manager. I think they're still on their worldwide hunt for
Worldwide search. Global
a general
search.
manager. I think there's a lot more flexibility, but I don't know that there's a lot of people standing on firm ground where they don't have to worry about their jobs at the moment. I think there's a lot more expectation going into this season for uh, a better performance and finishing higher than fifth.
Yeah, I agree. I think the struggle too is that we just got rid of a couple guys that were fan favorites, Krylock, Lawfelson in the middle of the field, but we've kind of already grown their replacements, right? Kevin Lambert stepped in, Pablo Ruiz will be back, and then behind them we had Palacio step in and do really well, and Ojeda was like fantastic for me. So and then behind Severino, we had Gomez, who is a very exciting and dynamic player, and he was brought in to solidify that. And then we have a Nelly who stepped in front of Jasper Loffelson. So we already had a lot of these guys' replacements in place. That's why losing these four guys, I don't know that it's any of the four would have even started this year. Maybe Sava, maybe not if we're trying to grow Gomez and sell him on, right? Like a lot of things could happen, but I think it's great that we already have grown their replacements in every single case.
Well, there is a downside to that, though, with the history of how Pablo loves his rotation. Getting rid of those players limit our rotation, and then our history of injuries. And I just, Pablo Ruiz, I don't know if he's going to be 100% all the way back. And I don't know. I get
Well,
nervous in that kind of situation.
I think they're off to
Go ahead.
Portugal or somewhere for the preseason.
Yeah, preseason.
And
Yeah.
Pablo Ruiz will be back once they get there. And they're not going to have him come and start practicing and playing on the artificial turf out in Herriman. So, but he will be a part of the preseason. So it's going to be really, really interesting. And I think I asked a question earlier about, does this reset the clock for Pablo? Did we talk about that?
I think it kind of ups the heat. You know what I mean? He's going from medium to medium hot. I don't know if that's the right oven terms or whatever. You know what I mean? Hot plate, whatever. I think it turns the heat up for Pablo. I think it's like, all right, we spent this money. We're bringing in the players that you want your way. Here you go. You better win with them. Let's go. Ratchets that heat up just a couple notches.
Yeah, I'm sure the new coaches will all have a clean slate, but we want to talk about the changes in coaching.
Who are all those new coaches? Yeah.
Where did they go?
Misra Harambasic. I'm sure I pronounced that perfectly since I speak nothing of that language, whatever it is.
Well, one thing that's
he's the
exciting
goalkeeper
is
coach.
Olave is coming into the coaching staff for Real Salt Lake instead of the Monarchs. So he got promoted, which was nice to see. That's a great guy overall.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah,
and then they picked up Nate Miller as an assistant coach too, and Anthony Poulis. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, so Nate Miller comes from the San Diego Loyal, which was a USL side that shut down at the end of last season. Their ownership group was really trying to make the move from USL to Major League Soccer, but Major League Soccer awarded that a franchise in San Diego to a different ownership group, and so they ended up
messed up, man.
They ended up shutting down. So he comes from.
I know RSL is part of MLS, but MLS is kind of messed up, and that's one way that's messed up right there. Anyway, go ahead.
And so he came from San Diego Loyal. That's Nate Miller, and then you have Anthony Poulis, who I find this intriguing. He worked with Bo Schmidt. This is in a press release on the RSL website with Schmidt and Kreis in Miami. So he has a relationship there. But I love they say that he had a 10-year playing career in England that saw Poulis represent Portsmouth, Stoke City, Torquay United, Plymouth Argyle, Grimsby Town, Bristol Rovers, Southampton, Lincoln City, Stockport County, Barnet, and Aldershot Town. All just mega teams in England, right? Everybody's heard of those.
That's a lot.
They are if they're a fan of Crawley Town.
Well, actually, Grimsby Town's in League Two.
That's 11 teams in 10 years.
Yeah. So, and then also
that's a lot of teams, bro. That's cool. Then good for him.
As you mentioned, Herman Olave is coming up from the Monarchs, and then also you mentioned Mirza Harambasic. He's going to be the goalkeeper coach, right?
Yep. And he was also promoted because he worked with the Monarchs.
Yeah. And then Sean Buckley arrives after 2 years at Minnesota United FC. And that's a USL. No, that's a major league team. He's the strength and conditioning track.
Where did he come from?
Minnesota United.
Minnesota.
Oh.
Because
hopefully he can protect some ACLs over here.
Yeah, the previous, I can't remember his name. I don't have it on top of my head. I'm sorry. But their previous strength and conditioning coach moved on to, I think, DC United. He went back, or Philadelphia. Maybe it's Philadelphia. Team back east. So that's why that position came open. So really interesting moves that on the coaching side to bring in maybe a little bit more some perceived tactical awareness. Pablo made it sound like he might have a little less to do with the tactical and more along the lines of the motivation and the team chemistry, and they'll be relying on these coaches to really, with the change in tactics that they mentioned in the interview, they might play a whole bit different role in how we see RSL play this year.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been hoping on this podcast. I mean, we've been hoping that the entire year that we were going to get a couple assistant coaches that are more tactical minded to help bolster our idea on the field.
Well, we ran out of ideas a couple times this year where we're like, okay, that's not working. Now what? And we just kind of almost froze at certain times. It kind of looked like that against Houston a couple times, but then all of a sudden we whipped in a good ball and tied it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just took a moment of brilliance almost to even get close. So I'm grateful for the change in the coaching staff. I know Pablo doesn't love it at this point, but hopefully it'll be a really good change for us.
I'm looking forward to it. So
me too. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be an exciting year, hopefully.
Well, I was looking up and I saw like all our strikers, and I was like, okay, let's just kind of run through our strikers and see kind of the minutes we're missing. So Musovski out, he left right at the end of the season. They're like, thanks, but no thanks. You hit it off the bar, you're done. Hit the post, you're out. 1,200 minutes, 14 starts, 24 matches played. Anderson Julio, he's still here. 28 matches played, 12 starts, 1,100 minutes, 1155, 5 goals. Arango, definitely be back. 758 on the minutes, 9 starts, 11 matches played, 6 goals, 1 assist. Gozo and Kai, they both went in for 7 minutes. Yeah. Krylak kind of played some forward. What's that?
7 important minutes.
7 minutes of heaven. Damir Krylak was 13-17 on the minutes. 15 games started. 27 played. Rubio Rubin, 22 matches played. 14 starts. And he did play some midfield too. 12.94 on the minutes. So, and then Jockeson had 4 starts and 10 matches played. Didn't take advantage of his 358 minutes. And he probably will be back. So out of those people, like we have Anderson Julio, who played the most minutes of everyone, and Christian Arango, who is our best player, I think. I think we all agree on that, but maybe not. But then look at all those minutes available here on our roster now. That is a lot of minutes available to somebody. Anybody on this roster stepping up, or are we going to go sign a striker from across the pond? Maybe a Welsh striker, whatever, you know. They don't all want to go play for Wrexham right now.
Come on, Mullen. Take us home, Mullen.
Anyway, that position right now, if you're on the RSL roster and you can't get any playing time for this team, you might not make it. Yeah, now's the time to strike. So
it is wide open up there at the moment, isn't it?
It sure is.
When is the first game? It's against Miami, right?
21st. Yep, February 21st.
21st of January or February?
February, yeah.
February. So
Yeah.
hopefully we get a couple big signings this month, probably towards the end of the month. But honestly, me personally, I think I'm scared overall. I feel like with our roster at the moment, we are good, but for any success, we need some larger pieces.
Yeah, and our first game is at Miami. Our second game is at St. Louis. So the Miami game is midweek. And then February 24th is the weekend in St. Louis. And then we get to come home and play LAFC. So we might be 0-3 to start the season, guys. And that's going to be ugly. But then we get the Crappers. So we should be rounded into
I don't know. All Jasper will
the Jasper Loffelson led Crapids.
people will be so mad when Jasper gets a hat trick on us and celebrates.
Oh, if he gets a hat trick, I'll cheer for him. Especially because we'd probably still win 4-3.
Well, and you also after Colorado, the next game is Vancouver, and we get St. Louis twice once in February and once in March. So February and March, that is a pretty tough schedule.
Tough way to start the schedule. Yeah, for sure.
At least the Vancouver game will be away. There will be lots and lots of tears of people lamenting the fact that Captain Krylock is in blue and white and not claret and cobalt.
Yeah, and I also thought it was interesting that Messi, he doesn't come to Utah. He doesn't come to Colorado. Those are way too high in altitude for Messi to come. So we both play road games in Miami.
Well, at least we finally get to play them. They've been in the league 4 years, and this is the first time we've played them.
It's a good point. The scheduling people are so strange. They're like, we don't ever want to play Salt Lake against Miami. Why not pink versus red? It's just the colors clash too much. It's not okay. Right, Brennan?
It is not. I'm not a fan.
So what are your thoughts on a year ago? Thoughts on where we were as a team versus where we are this season? Did it feel more stable, or does it feel a little more wide open this year?
I feel like the beginning of last year, with the ownership change, there was a lot of questions without any answers. It was hopeful, but at the same time, we didn't know which way it was going to go. I think the build-up within the year, expectations were really low. And throughout the year, I think it really solidified the change that is happening here and getting more and more excitement built up. And I think with us making such a big change in the back office, front office, whatever you call it, and then also with the coaching, it's ramping up to be a serious season, with a stronger foundation overall. I feel like this is when we are revamping Real Salt Lake as a whole.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I tend to agree. Oh yeah, go ahead, Brent.
I was just gonna say, I think that I'm not expecting. I think last season at the start, I think I expected RSL to start out better than they did. Right, I had higher expectations for the season as a whole to start, and the team to have a little cohesion. This year, I'm not expecting a great start, to be totally honest. You're changing tactics, you're changing players, you're changing coaches. I do think it wipes the slate a little bit clean. I do think it's interesting that they brought in a couple of assistant coaches with head coaching, especially Pulis from Miami. I think that's really interesting. I know that. I think Pablo and Tony Beltran have a really, really tight relationship. I think there will be a little bit of a leash there, but not a very, very long one. But I don't expect the team to come out guns a-blazing. I expect there to be some bumps along the way, especially depending on if Kurt Schmidt's out there signing new strikers, new players. And the window's open till April. So don't necessarily have to have somebody in January. So we'll get into, we'll do our prediction episode and all of that. But I do think that this might be a season where it starts out much slower than expected, but kind of builds to the end to where we end up about the same place, but it feels 100% different than it did at the end of the season last year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's interesting for sure. The way that we're kind of approaching it, and again, it's great that those guys departed, and like 15 of our 20 people that dressed in those games against Houston in the playoff series, where we came up just barely short. 15 of the 20 are back, so 10 of 11 starters. I mean, depending on where you put certain people, but man. I think this team just gets a little bit older and a little bit more mature, and I think that's a good thing for Real Salt Lake. We have enough young guys playing key roles that's going to be a really good thing this year.
And we focused a lot on the players up top, but I still think there's a concern about the players in the back.
How so? So we got Brian Vera, we got Glad, we still have Silva, who looks pretty good in preseason
I
right now.
think that I would be concerned with Glad and Silva.
I would agree. Yeah, I agree. I think we need a center back. Either Holt needs to step back into where he was a couple years ago when he was playing good minutes for us, or we need to sign a new center back. Because I think Silva's on the way out. I think he's not the Silva he was. And I think Olave's going to see that real quick. And I don't think Silva's going to get many minutes for us at center back. But Vera could cover for him. And Glad can too, because Glad's still super speedy. So I don't know, but I think Holt, with a couple of years under his belt, little maturity, could step into that role. I really want to see Holt step into that role and play well.
Oh my
gosh, man! See a bald guy back there. Just want to see a
that's
bald guy
literally
back
it.
there.
Because you cannot say that Holt is our saving grace in the center.
I don't think he is. I think he could be. I think there's a 2% chance that he could step in and fill it.
Okay, Andrew Brody could be our new striker too.
Oh, come on!
Andrew Brody's gonna be a solid number 10 for us.
No, but that's what I like about Holt, is he's very physical, and I think him and Glad play well together. And I think if we can get Vera out on the left, I'd much rather see that than keep Vera on the inside. But
so you don't see Oviedo as an option?
No, I like Oviedo, but I think he's to the point where he's spot duty. He's a game here, a game there. Every third game, fourth game, he picks up a full game, goes the full 90, whips a couple good balls in, gets an assist or two. But he can get exposed in the back when teams go at us. But if Brody's not playing, they probably won't go after him. But if Brody is playing, they probably go after Brody.
Yeah,
well, that's going to be interesting to see, because maybe during this time off, Kevin Lambert's been implemented as a more serious center back or left back. Because isn't he preferred left foot?
Lambert,
or is he a righty?
I don't know.
I didn't even care to look at that, but I mean, hopefully they've concocted something, because all the reports are saying we're looking for the top. We're looking for strikers and all that.
Well, if we find people to score, we'll just outscore teams this year. Because and maybe they put it together. Maybe it was just an off year. Because the season before, the back line was really stout, and I think everyone was surprised at how the back line played last year. So maybe it was just an anomaly. But I tend to think Silva getting older. Not a ton of faith in Brody. And I think Justin Glad hasn't got to the point where people expect him to be like challenging for the men's national.
He hasn't
team.
been comfortable, just due to all the other.
He definitely had a
players.
rough year last year, but if he goes back to who he was before, cleans up those mistakes, I think he's back on the right track.
So yeah. So we'll get into depth on in some upcoming episodes. We'll see how it goes during preseason and who all the. I saw the rumor that Neymar might be coming to Miami. Maybe he's coming to RSL instead. So I don't know if somebody's
He's gonna give up his what is it, B-52 bomber that he got that he gets to travel the world with. I mean, there's no way.
No way. No way.
Yeah, I'm afraid that Neymar would come in here and just Johnny Menendez up. I just don't think he's tough enough for Major League Soccer.
I agree. Just like he could never go to the Premier League, he just can't. It'd eat him up.
There's probably a lot of truth to that. So, how about your other teams? I mean, have a good Christmas? We didn't talk about that. I mean, we didn't chat about the holidays. I'm sure Tyler got at least 4 RSL shirts for Christmas.
Yeah, definitely. A couple beanies, a couple, got to keep the head warm in the cold, This one's an older one, but, it's got the RSL on the side right there.
Yeah,
kind of got the brim, even though it's a knit cap. I don't know. I love this one. Looks ridiculous, I'm sure, but it's not why you wear RSL gear, right?
You don't wear it to look ridiculous. That's right.
Right.
So what about your other teams?
Man U is Man U right now.
Hey, they took it
making
to
me more depressed by the day. Just I don't know. I think as soon as we get new ownership like Real Salt Lake, we're going to be able to see better things.
Didn't they bring in a new owner or something or another? Sort of Galahad?
Marginal. I mean, Ratcliffe was supposed to try to purchase the whole thing, but he's only getting like 10 to 20% or something like that. It's still a Glazer-owned team
the
at the
Glazers
moment.
won a playoff game down in Tampa. Good job, Tampa Bay Bucks. Beat the Philadelphia Overhypers.
Yay.
Do not Arsenal.
Arsenal are still not in the drop zone yet. I mean, there's a classic 4th. Stupid 4th. So pissed at 4th place all the time.
And
but yeah, I mean, out of the last 5, they've lost 3 and tied 1, and they did win 1. Good job, Arsenal. Yeah, they were top of the table for a while. Liverpool just beat them, and then they beat them in the cup, and then just Liverpool looks so good, dude. They do. They're top of the table, followed closely by Man City, and Liverpool look good.
Yeah, Man City, they snuck out a win on Sunday. Picked up 3 points.
Man City still looked pretty good, too. Stupid Man City.
Cheaters always win over there. The FA over there in England, they can't stop charging Everton, but because Everton and Nottingham Forest got more charges this week.
Yeah, and did you see the Reading game? Did you see what happened there? So I follow Reading because a friend of mine used to live by the stadium, and so I always thought I would go over there and would catch a Reading game, right? So Reading FC, they're like a northeast London. I got to get the geography right. Right, north and east of London. Towards
not too much north. They're almost like straight across.
Yeah. There you go. So they were in and out of the Premier League. They were one of those yo-yo teams, Premier League, Championship, Premier League, Championship. Well, last year they got dropped from the Championship because their owner, Dai Yonggi, who's a Chinese national, refused to fund the team. So there were, stadium employees that were 4 months plus back on their pay. There were all these players weren't getting paid, and then the fans in the 16th minute, because there had been 16 points deducted from this club because of their stupid owner. The fans in the 16th minute stormed the field, and they didn't let the game resume. They all just went out on the center of the pitch, and the team knew it was coming, so they left, and security blocked off the players from the fans, and they invaded the pitch until they called the game. So now there's this debate. Well, do you punish the fans for coming on the field and trespassing? Do you punish the owner for what happened again? Because he's been fined another 50,000 pounds, and it's 80,000 pounds is his total. And everybody's like, don't punish the fans. They're already getting punished. But keep punishing the owner, right? They're in 21st place in the 3rd division right now. So they got dropped from the championship. They're in the whatever that one's called,
League One.
EF1. Yeah, League One.
Whatever that one's called.
EFL1. Anyway, so they're in 21st place, which there's 24 in that league. So they're not in the drop zone, but they will be now if
they're in the drop zone because 4 teams go down out of League One.
Oh my gosh, they're in the drop zone. Anyway, so sad. And they're trying to get the club sold, but he bought it in May of 2017 when he was a quadrillionaire, and now he's only a millionaire. And so he doesn't have the funds to pay and fund the team, and they were threatening to just pull Reading's license as a team, and it's a big place, man. Reading's a big club. That would really be so sad if they can't sell it. Anyway,
yeah, that's
sad moment
tragic.
in soccer.
I've actually been to the University of Reading.
Have you?
Yeah, that's where they have the Museum of English Rural Life, the Merle.
Did you know that, Brennan? That the Merle is in Reading?
Really?
Yeah, the Museum of English Rural Life.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun if you're into husbandry and
Did you just say if you're into husbandry?
Yeah, the breeding of sheep and other animals, barnyard animal.
Oh, Brett, you're so funny, man.
So
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, so
Carry
then
so
we
ours
can
don't suck, but they don't
we
suck
move
as
on
bad
to the
as
come
Reading.
on
It
quality
could be
update.
worse. Yes, please. Save us from
Yeah,
more of that.
It could be worse. Well, that's something, we went on, we do the Come On Crawley update a little bit. I'll fill you in more in the next couple episodes when I get my voice back 100%. Don't want to build up the suspense. But yeah, we went and visited family, saw the grandkids, and also their parents, which is nice. Daughter and son-in-law. And we did get to some Crawley games. Got to 3 Crawley games.
Wow.
While we were over there. And I feel kind of bad. One of my goals this year is to get to an RSL away game. Haven't done it ever. Not much of a traveler other than going to see grandkids in England. But my goal is to get to an RSL away game. And we went to 2 away games and a home game in Crawley. And the farthest we had to drive was 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours. It's and that was almost the farthest north we had to drive up to York, up by Leeds for Bradford. And I'm like, geez, the closest RSL drive is 7 hours, 7-8 hours to Colorado. And people just don't understand the scope of Major League Soccer and the travel compared to like the other European countries where the maybe it's different, like in Russia and China. They're super leagues. They have a lot of travel, so to speak, but not in England. So, but it was a lot of fun. Crawley won 2 games and lost one. But I was really one of the things that I found interesting is the disparity in investment. We went to MK Don's game, and they have a beautiful brand new stadium. I think it was built about 10 years ago. 30,000 seat stadium. It would fit right in with the United States.
Okay.
It's a nice stadium. I mean, you would see an MLS team playing there or an NFL team playing there. It's that kind of size, but Crawley Town's about 5,000 seat stadium. It's very quaint, a lot of fun. And then we went to Bradford, and it's like a 26,000 seat stadium, but it cannot hold a candle to the riot.
Wow.
MK Dons was, and I think that's the case in a lot of the cities over there and the towns over there. When you get down into the not the Premier League teams, but the smaller teams, that the investment is greater in Major League Soccer than in some of these other teams, at least in the infrastructure. I don't know if you've paid attention to Luton Town's Kenilworth Road. We thought about driving by there, but we didn't make it. But that's a 10,000 seat stadium. That's it's a good thing they're in the Premier League. They need a lot of money to improve that thing.
Yeah,
But I thought it was interesting
I've seen a few
where
games on TV with them. That's crazy. But you went
the
to the
amount of
Northern Commercial Stadium?
where's that? In Bradford.
Oh,
We went to in Bradford. They call it Valley Parade.
okay.
I don't know what the MK Dons Stadium's called. It might just be called MK Dons. Milton Keynes. And
Milton
then
Keynes sounds like a chocolate flavor. Yeah,
and
Stadium
then
MK.
we went to the Broadfield Stadium where Crawley Town plays, and it was funny. We're walking down the path, and they were playing Swindon Town, and one of the Swindon Town kids comes around the corner, and they've got kind of like what they have at RSL, where they've got the pitch where the kids can play and stuff, and the kid come around the corner and says, "Man, this is so much better than Swindon." So, but it was a lot of fun. I'll have to share some more when we have more time.
That's great. Any insights for Man United there, Brendan?
Honestly, I'm taking a sabbatical from participating in the viewing of Manchester United at the moment, unfortunately. But yeah, I would love to, but I'm a little burnt out, honestly. It's no longer fun.
Well, and at least they're not, Chelsea, ninth place
True.
or Everton.
Well, did you see Timo Werner on Tottenham?
Oh my goodness, wasn't that nuts? He showed up and they just threw him in and he missed like 4 sitters.
Well, he also hit a ball. Yeah, he hit a ball like 40, 50 yards out, like nowhere near. And this
I
guy's
love when
coming
they
over to
shoot
win
and it
trophies.
goes for a throw in. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
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 Quality stuff there. Good job, Timo. Welcome back to England, where you can't kick the ball straight for some reason. You can do it in Germany.
And to other things in world soccer news, Jose Mourinho got let go.
What?
Oh yeah, sad day.
Joe
Saw a picture of
say?
him crying.
Was he
Roma
crying?
said he's at Roma, right? And they said,
Yeah.
"Adios,
Yeah.
amigo." Even though he helped them win the title in 22 or 21 or something like that.
Yeah, he must be a hard guy to get along with, It just seems like it's his way or the highway, and there's no flexibility in what he does, and so it makes sense that he doesn't stay anywhere very long, right?
Yeah, and the game's probably getting past his style, right?
Yeah, and he gives himself nicknames. He's kind of the George Costanza of that, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, great coach. If you want to win a title one time or make a really deep Champions League run, he's your guy. Otherwise, maybe steer clear of that guy for multiple reasons.
Oh, nice. So we're glad to be back. We've got a lot of big plans for 2024. Obviously, more video, even with a bunch of faces for radio like we've got. But we're going to